While running away, the MC thinks about life. It's like an egg, a boiled egg, meaning that no matter what you do, there is no real meaning. His chasers catch up to him and search his belongings for a relic. They find it, and that's when they decapitate him, ending his life. It seems to not be so, however, as he speaks to the mother of corruption, a hand that is grabbing his body while screaming murder. He tells her not to get angry, as he has already collected the divinity inside the relic. He grabs his head from the snow and reattaches it, saying that he did lose a bit of money in the process of all this. We get his backstory. His life as he reached his late 20s made him too tired and busy to play games. And that's why he always made compromises when playing them, by using an editor. But one game he kept playing, in order to play as the priest of corruption, the hardest to progress, and the worst performing class. He couldn't control himself, as his heart was always racing whenever he played like this. Around the time he completed his class quest, and all his class progression materials were gone, he got transported into the game, and became the priest of corruption. The hand that keeps screaming at him is the goddess he serves, the mother of corruption. He started serving her 5 years ago, when he just woke up inside the game, with only a robe and her hand that was laying on his chest. But because of her large presence, he felt a connection to the hand, and was able to accept that he got transported into the game pretty early on. According to the description of the game, the priest of corruption is a genetically enhanced human modified by drugs, and as a result of this, he had enhanced physical capabilities, heightened senses, and a body that can only be killed by divinity. And there's also that he wasn't able to stand the sight of blood before, but the scene that's unfolding right in front of him, which is quite gruesome, has no effect on him. The only real problem he has is that his body can no longer feel or taste anything. Inside of an adventurer's guild, he gets his ID, the receptionist there calling him Priest Marnak. He asks her about work, and she gets to searching, saying that there must be some work for a priest who is serving the goddess of preservation like him. Marnak thinks about this. After entering the northern city of Guis, where he is now, he decided to impersonate a member of the Order of Preservation. If he was under a different god, the respective god would have become furious and marked him the moment he impersonated a member of another order, a mark only other members can see, the seal of punishment. However, the mother of corruption is benevolent in regards to such things. The Order of Corruption is the enemy of all, and he, who was also hated by all, was Mother's only follower. The receptionist finally pulls out a job for him. Marnak reads about it, and finds out it's a bandit or monster hunting. The Lord of Guis sending this out because farmers have recently gone missing while heading to Guis, and those who find the reason and defeat it are rewarded with 30 nips of silver per head. The receptionist is surprised that he can read, him thinking that he was able to read and write in the language of this world the moment he got here. He puts the paper down, and sheepishly asks the receptionist to give him part of the reward right now. While traveling for the job, he notes that the receptionist talks a lot. She gave him the money, but he will have to pay a fine if he is late. He speaks with the mother, who asks if he has fallen in love already. He gets angry, saying that he did not in fact do that. From behind him, someone speaks his name. It's Pierre, a local from the area. He asks Marnak if he wants to talk. He doesn't say anything, but Pierre still talks his ear off with a myriad of things, on how his parents are doing and rumors about the kidnappings. He suddenly gets called in the front of the group and leaves Marnak. The mother tells him to kill everyone, but he refuses, as he really needs the money to spend this winter in warmth. He also asks her how many fingers she would rate everyone, and a hand symbol appears near everyone with different numbers of fingers raised. The fingers mean the amount of divinity they're worth, with one being 10, 2 100, and so on. And if he manages to collect 100,000 divinity, Marnak gains 1 authority, and thanks to the system, he was able to absorb the divinity of a holy relic and gained an authority. The mother said that if he were able to collect the divinity of every relic, all his wishes would be fulfilled. He thinks that he will wish for his sense of taste back first. Pierre comes back, who apparently got chewed out for talking too much. Marnak says that he doesn't mind, but in that moment the party gets attacked. He protects Pierre by throwing him out of the line of fire, taking the bolts for him instead. The mother asks him to just play dead and kill them when they get close. That would be the easiest. But Marnak rises and grabs a sword, saying that he does things his own way. He rushes the attackers and swiftly takes the head of one. The captain orders his men to take care of the rest, as he will deal with the priest until then. He rushes Marnak, who pushes him out of the way. He asks Mother for her rating, but doesn't get a moment's rest, as the captain forces him to exchange blows. The mother says that he is worth 2.5 fingers, with Marnak noting that it's the same as the ranger who killed him previously. He is ecstatic that the game is so unbalanced. The captain summons all his might in one strike and breaks Marnak's sword. He laughs at him, noting that is the reason he always uses frost steel. He tells Marnak that he will let him go, as this was the last job in the area. So why don't they call it quits and leave with smiles on their faces? Marnak refuses, instead proposing something else. If they leave right now, he will go easy on them. The captain wonders if they would have just walked away like that. Marnak tries to say something but gets an arrow in the head, much to the captain's delight. His group says that he saw him split Marnak's sword in two, him bragging that he perfectly calculated where to swing. He asks them if they took care of the rest, and they confirm that they did. Suddenly, Marnak rises from the ground and speaks, much to their shock. He asks why they are so surprised. Have they never seen someone survive being shot in the head with an arrow? They clearly have not. He begins praying to Mother, a green aura starting to emanate from him. The captain orders his men to shoot, but the bolts don't do anything to him. Seeing this, they try to run away, but are stopped by an invisible wall. This wall is called the line in which the living cannot pass, and it's an authority that the priest of corruption must activate before using his powers. It prevents targets from getting away while also concealing the divinity of corruption. He adds that he really likes this authority. Mother watches this from above, smirking. The captain says that they should try and slice through the barrier but gets crushed by a gigantic monster. The captain's men try to leave, begging the priest for forgiveness. Marnak tells the monster that apart from their heads, he can have everything else. He goes back to his party and sees that it has been decimated. The mother asks him to collect the divinity from the bodies, but he refuses, as that would cause a lot of suspicion from the guild, and they would surely investigate. He spots Pierre, who is barely clinging on to dear life. Marnak thinks that by saving him, his reputation will increase, and thus he asks Mother to stop the progression of his wounds. In an undisclosed location, a priest holds the cup Marnak sucked the divinity out of, asking a man what happened to the boy who stole this artifact. The man says that he was beheaded on the spot, but left the body there, because they had no supplies to spare. The priest proclaims that she will go on a pilgrimage, much to the man's surprise. He asks if it's because of the prophecy, and she says that it is, and because she has someone to meet. While Marnak is carrying Pierre back to safety, we get the explanation on what the prophecy is. 10 years ago, all religions received it. The end will wear the husk of life, and come to fall upon the world. The receptionist goes up to Marnak, saying that it's okay to get inside the town, as she already got permission from the guards. While walking, she says that he didn't seem that strong at first, and also asks him for the heads he is carrying, saying that the guild will take care of that. She also asks him if he has anywhere to sleep, and if he hasn't, he should sleep at her place. This makes him blush, much to the dismay of the mother, who is screaming bloody murder. He says that he had no devious intentions with the lady with red hair. All she meant was that she would let him sleep in the guild guest room, surely. Someone knocks at the door. It's the receptionist, who says that there's something he needs to attend to. While they speak, Mother is giving her the middle finger under the sheets. She tells Marnak that the Lord wants to see him, who wonders why the Lord would request for him. The receptionist says that it's most likely because the captain of the mercenary group he was with is actually the Lord's half-brother. Marnak arrives at the Lord's residence, where the Lord of Guys, Traden Filion, asks him if he was the one who saw his brother's final moments, and if he would like some tea. Marnak smirks, with Mother drawing a giant X when she saw the Lord. Marnak asks him how life as a human is, calling him a demon. He thinks that there's only one reason Mother drew that X, because the Lord wasn't a living being, and amongst the others, only one is able to take the form of a human, demons. While they are stronger than any being, they can't do anything on their own. In order to do that, they have no choice but to make deals with beings of this world. That's why demons love all living beings. However, the gods hated them because they have as much as they took, with them finally declaring to their followers and all living beings that these beings will be called demons, and they are evil. This being what started the priest's hunt for demons. Marnak thinks about this. The demon contractor was a difficult class, and people avoided it like the plague. He remembers this because it was the second class that he played. The Lord sits in silence, but finally speaks. He says that because of his brother's death, he was able to welcome an important guest. He tells Marnak that he must be lying about his identity, seeing as he saw through him and all. He can call him crawling bait. Marnak also reveals his identity. He is a priest serving the mother of corruption. The Lord is surprised that there's still a living son of corruption. He urges Marnak to take a seat, being as they are the only ones here. The Lord says that he called him here to tell him how his brother died. He will be sure to pay him for his efforts. Marnak agrees. Having finished the conversation, Marnak thinks that it was quite the unfortunate event, as the brother was struggling with work, and the Lord gave him some work under the table, causing his death as a result. We see the Lord's reaction after hearing this, looking quite sad. Marnak speaks to Mother, saying that he wasn't tempted with the gold, it being a representation of the Lord's pure intention to know the truth. The Mother calls him a greedy priest, but he exclaims that he is not. He also says that another fact about gold is that it doesn't rot, with the Mother taking this as an insult. Marnak says not to be hasty, and to let him finish speaking. There is something that doesn't rot, and lasts as long as gold, that is the love he has for her. The Mother is left speechless, and gently holds her hand against his chest. He adds that for him, she will always be the most important thing, so there's no need to worry. He goes back to the guild, where the receptionist tells him to greet the priests from the teaching sect. Marnak notes that he doesn't want to deal with those freaks right now. His eyes suddenly widen, as one of them is holding a holy relic. One of them comes right up to him, commending his dedication for being a priest of preservation. He introduces himself. He is the weight of the scale of retribution, Orivs. The people next to him are called Cornu, a man with a horn in his head, and Patina, a woman. Marnak does the same, and the receptionist notes that they will be staying here just like him. Marnak thinks that this is perfect, as he will have many opportunities to steal the relic from now on. They excuse themselves, saying that they have to go visit the Lord of Guise. The receptionist notes that for priests like them, they ask for a small price. Marnak wondering if he will have to pay as well. She says that she didn't let him stay because of an interest in him. However, she did have some intention of her own to help him. She gets close, and whispers that she would like him to cast a blessing of preservation on the food they have, so that it won't go bad. He retreats, asking why she got so close just to whisper that. She wonders why. Someone says that it's getting along well. It's Cornu, who stayed behind as to not cause any trouble due to his race, as many northern lords don't have good impressions of him. The receptionist notes that the Lord isn't like that. Even if he seems cold, he is good at his job, and there are a lot of people who support him in Guise, so they should refrain from speaking poorly of him. He asks to know more about the Lord, and they all begin talking about him for a while. Marnak asks him why they suddenly decided to visit the Lord, and Cornu says that it's because of the prophecy. Orvis thinks that the husk mentioned in it is supposed to be a demon, and he is here to check for this. Inside the Lord's mansion, the relic they are holding suddenly lights up, it being able to detect demonic beings. They get into position, but that's when the mansion explodes, and the Lord reveals his true form, crawling weight. Marnak and Cornu spot the commotion, with Priest Orvis casting scales of retribution and hitting the beast right on its head, causing another explosion. Cornu says that this is possible because of Orvi's hammer of punishment. They need to go get help. Marnak bolts in another direction, saying that he should go first and that he will be right behind them. He rushes to the Adventurers Guild and asks the receptionist about the location of the medical center where Pierre is being treated. He picks her up and dashes with might out of the Adventurers Guild, landing and sprinting to the medical center. The receptionist spots the monster as it has made its way to the center of the city. Marnak says to forget about it for now. She must tell him the location of Pierre. She does so, and they find him safe and sound, resting. Marnak notes that he can't let Pierre die after he barely managed to save his life. He picks him up and asks the receptionist to grab onto him, as he can't carry her with both arms anymore. She does so, and they begin running again. She adds that there is a secret passage, poking at it and saying that it will lead to the outskirts of Guise, but the door is locked shut. This proves to be no challenge for him, however, as he smashes the door with his foot, the receptionist noting his strength. Marnak puts her down, saying that if things get worse, she should take Pierre and run. He has to go help. He arrives at the location of the battle and spots Cornu, who has been mortally wounded. Marnak asks where the other priests are, and he says that Patina is dead, with her right arm and leg completely gone. He also asks Cornu if there is any way to defeat the monster. He speaks with his last moments left. The only way to defeat the monster is with the white sword, the relic they brought. Orvis managed to stab it into the beast's head. If he manages to take that sword and stab it in the brain, it should die. With these words spoken, he passes away. Marnak collects from him, gaining 100 divinities. Orvis continues his battle against the demon, and manages to hit the sword with his hammer, causing it to go deeper. Marnak notices it and jumps on it as well, spotting the white sword Orvis is using. But the monster suddenly rolls with all its might, throwing Marnak off. His mother is worried about him, but he says that he is fine. It seems that fortune smiled on him, however, as he got thrown right next to the holy relic they were using. He grabs it and asks his mother to give him another authority. She does so, and Marnak gains 10,000 authority points. Marnak asks what seal has been lifted this time, and it seems that Mother can go further from his location. He jokes that the effect is pretty minuscule. He prays once again to Mother, offering her 10,000 divinities in exchange for a new authority. It seems that this time he gained the text of corruption, the effects of which are simple yet powerful. The moment it is activated, metaphysical green tattoos appear all over his body and amplify his physical abilities. He notes that it will be pretty useful in this situation, with his broken leg also being healed. He spots Orvis next to him, thinking that he must have been thrown off too at that time, but he didn't survive. Marnak collects him, gaining 1,000 divinities. The demon is still rampaging, with Marnak noting that this is odd, as the people who brought out its anger, the priests, are all dead, and it shouldn't do it anymore. He thought that demons weren't beings that followed instincts, but that's when he spots something and activates the text of corruption, saying to his mother that things might shake a bit. He rushes to the demon's location and jumps a large distance. It tries to hit him, but he is swift and dodges. He gets on top of the demon and spots the sword, but suddenly the beast tries to do the same move to throw him off again, but the same trick won't work twice, as Marnak jumps down and gets away, the attack missing him completely. But a bit of blood still comes out of his mouth, saying that it's progressing faster than expected. While climbing the beast again, he notes that when the text of corruption is used, his body starts to rot from inside, so he must end this quickly. He jumps and grabs the sword, thinking of the words Cornu said to push the sword in. He does the opposite, however, and pulls it out, causing a ray of blue light to come out of the wound, eliminating the demon in an explosion of light. Lord Traden is left in the location of the beast, and Marnak asks if he is awake now. The Lord says that it was a real blessing meeting him. Marnak says that there's no need for that, as the sword was suppressing his mind. He reaches his hand out, and the Lord says that the 2 golds worth of help was definitely worth it. Where Marnak was decapitated, the blue-haired priestess looked for his body with the help of the ranger who did it. The body is not there, however, with the ranger noting that it was probably dragged away by monsters or wild beasts. The priestess says that it's possible and thanks him for the help, but also asks him the name of each nearby city. In disguise, Marnak is being led by a butler who guides him through the ruble to a nearby house, where Traden welcomes him with open arms, saying that he is growing more handsome every time he sees him. Marnak thanks him, and Traden says that he is their demon slaughterer. There's no way to express his gratitude. Marnak jokes that the demon is alive and well in front of him, with Traden jokingly saying that he needs to live too. He's not wrong. Marnak thinks about what happened. After everything was taken care of, Lord Traden shared with the town that he was the one who defeated the great demon who appeared, and that he also saved the Lord. As a result, he was given the nickname Demon Slaughterer, even though it really doesn't fit him. And Erin, the receptionist, has a special fondness for that nickname, so she refuses to stop calling him that in public, grabbing the attention of everyone around. With people coming close to him and praising him constantly, he clearly doesn't like it. Marnak speaks to Traden, saying that it's odd to see his prosthetic arm and leg move so smoothly. He says that he only moves like this in front of him. He limps when he's around other people. But in order to move naturally like this, he needs to pay a large price. Marnak wonders what it might be with anticipation, and Traden says that the hairs on his head will lose their strength and start falling. In a few months, he will be faced with a bald head. Marnak imagines it and cries. He also asks if he has a week's worth of time, which he does. Traden says that he received a job that asks specifically for Marnak. It has to do with the holy relics of the ancient empire. The reward is 5 whole nips of gold, paid in advance too, and if they deemed that he was a large enough help, they would give him one of the undiscovered relics. This seems like a gold mine for Marnak, so he takes the job. He thinks about the ancient empire. They ended the era of distraught mages and brought unity to the continent. And in their current age, where their technology has been recreated, those holy relics are known as precious treasures that contain powerful abilities. In other words, most of the items that are considered high-ranking items are actually relics of the ancient empire. Marnak greets the group that he will be going with. The one who requested this job, Carmen Valtis, offers him a handshake, with Marnak noting his name. Carmen says that what he's thinking is correct. Anthony Valtis of the Black Wolves is his father. He is his illegitimate child. Marnak thought that such a principled man as Anthony wouldn't have had other relationships after losing his wife, but it wouldn't be proper to open the topic. Marnak asks him to introduce the people behind him, and Carmen does so. The mage with the robe is Tunisa. She's the guide. And Sukus, who's part of the Unicorn tribe, is a big guy. Sukus shakes hands with Marnak, calling him the demon slaughterer. Marnak says that he is embarrassed when people call him that. But Sukus rebuts this by saying there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a mighty compliment that he has achieved. Carmen speaks up, saying that now that they have introduced each other, they should get going, as it will take them 2 days to reach the site. 2 days later, they make camp and relax for the night. Carmen and Marnak are not sleeping. Marnak says that he's had enough sleep and doesn't feel tired. With plenty of time until the sun rises, Carmen asks him if he has any interesting stories. He is sure someone like Marnak has met his fair share of women during his life. Marnak says that he doesn't. He is just like fresh snow. Carmen instead asks what kind of women he likes, and he says that he likes women who prefer to be by his side. Carmen approves, saying there's nothing better to see than your lady sleeping peacefully by your side. But personally, he believes that a woman's heart is the most important, with the mother agreeing. He believes that the heart is within your chest, and in order for your heart to be welcoming, your chest must be large enough to support it. Carmen is a man who likes women with big chests. Marnak says that it's not bad to have a clear vision of what he wants, but he should talk about this in front of women. Carmen says that of course he wouldn't. He's only saying this because it's with him. He also adds that whenever he speaks with Marnak, it feels like he's talking with an old friend. Marnak says so too, and they spend the whole night talking, much to the dismay of the mother. The next day, they arrive at the ruins, with Tunisa holding a key and saying that she will open the way. Marnak thinks that entering the ruins was quite easy, as they had to just find the key and move to the coordinates written on it. After that, they read the passage written in the ancient language on the key. With that, the key is inserted and turned. However, only mages can read ancient text, so their role in an exploration like this is indispensable. He is an exception, however, as he is a player, and they have this ability too, but he keeps it secret, because in this world where he has no relation, the key is too difficult to get. They enter the ruins and Carmen notes how beautifully preserved this place is, better than most ruins. Marnak looks up, thinking that he finally gets the chance to be inside the ruins he's only seen in photos before. He is truly mesmerized. The mage sees his reaction and scoffs. They go inside the main building, where a towering door stands with ancient text written on it. The mage notes that they need imperial blood to pass. If not, they should prepare for battle. The door slowly opens, and an army of creatures rush them. Sukus is the first to strike, with Tunisa not far behind, as she blows out a large number of them with a single spell. Marnak pulls out his blade and begins cutting them down. The mother suddenly tells him to watch out behind, and he swiftly blocks the last creature's blade. An arrow suddenly pierces its head, however, killing it instantly. Marnak thanks Carmen for the assist. Suddenly, he hears a commotion, with Sukus berating Tunisa for using her spells so recklessly. She notes that it was the fastest way, and the creatures all died in the end. So what's the issue? Sukus tries to tell her something, but Carmen stops them, causing him to go sit in a corner, still angry. Carmen commends Marnak for his skills, saying that the title of Demon Slayer suits him. Marnak apologizes for displaying such brutish actions as a priest. He also compliments Carmen's bow skills, who says that he has been practicing with it since he was little. Suddenly, Tunisia says that they should move, as she has plenty of mana left. Sukus hears this and gets furious, saying that they barely got any rest. She might not need any since she uses spells, but for melee fighters like him, rest is imperative. Tunisia adds that everyone else would agree with her, and at this point, it just seems like he is trying to make a scene. Carmen orders them to rest before they begin moving, and that's the end of it. Marnak thinks that the mages of this world are usually pompous and mostly extremely rude. It's easy to become a mage, as you are born with it. Although there are differences from person to person, those who are born with mana always awaken once they reach a certain age. When they do, knowledge regarding the ancient language beams into their brains. So they learn ancient spells using the mana that is able to break the laws of this world. Thus, they are reborn whole, as a mage. They dislike learning new things, however, as their heads are already filled with knowledge. As a result of this, most mages become iron-willed and uneducated, so they act like idiots. But Marnak notes that even among the mages, she's considered more well-mannered than most. After they finish resting, Carmen says that they should go to the next area. That's when the passage suddenly closes, and a gigantic metal golem is summoned. Marnak adds that the enemies beforehand were too weak for a ruin like this. It seems like this is the real enemy. Tunisia urges them to step aside and begins casting a spell that shakes the ground. The golem looks at her, and his blue gem suddenly glistens. Carmen spots this and urges her to hurry and move out of its way. That's when the golem fires a beam into the roof of the room. This distracts Tunisia, giving it enough time to close the gap. And with one punch, he smashes her into a pulp, leaving nothing left. Sukus watches in horror, and Marnak screams for him to get out of the way. But it's too late, as the golem smacks him into the wall, killing him instantly. Marnak asks Carmen if he wants to live, and if he does, he better tuck his chin in. He suddenly knocks Carmen out, and summons a corrupt beast to handle the golem. The giants begin fighting, and Marnak absorbs the divinity of Sukus and Tunisia. He leaves Carmen into a corner, and notes that it will take a long time for the corruption beast to finish the battle on its own. So, he activates his text of corruption, and rushes in. He adds that his real target is the blue gem that is stuck in the golem's head, as if he breaks that, something will surely happen. He jumps on the corruption beast, giving him ample room to hit the crystal, and so he breaks it. The golem dematerializes, and Marnak thinks that this is probably over. He also congratulates the beast. His victory is short-lived, however, as multiple golems spawn out of thin air. A while later, Carmen wakes up, and he asks if their partners are dead. Marnak says that it is unfortunately so. Carmen notes that they were new hires, and they both died because of his greed. Marnak adds that they were hired for just that. They already knew what could happen in an exploration like this, so he shouldn't blame himself. He also notes that they are beyond the back door, surprising Carmen. He wants to ask how, but notes that he knocked him out before to keep it secret so he won't pry. He also says that now he has a debt towards Marnak, a debt that he will hopefully repay in the future. Marnak graciously accepts this, and notes that they better get moving, as he hasn't defeated all of the metal golems. It seems that there is a sliver of truth in his words, as he left the corruption beast to take the aggro, and threw Carmen into the room, barely managing to escape himself. They reach a door, the end of the ruins. Inside of the room, there are two treasure, a sword and some type of necklace. Carmen says that he has a favor to ask. Can he have the necklace? As he will reward him handsomely for it. Marnak asks what its ability is, and Carmen says that the necklace is called the Bloodline Pathfinder. If you spill some blood on it and think of a bloodline, the necklace will use the blood to point in the direction of the respective bloodline. Marnak thinks about this and smiles, and Carmen confirms his suspicions. He is looking for his mother, whom he has never met before. Marnak asks to take the sword in return. They go outside, where they both note that they barely got out of the ruins. Carmen takes off the necklace and asks Marnak to bless it, since he is a priest. He does so, obviously faking it. Carmen cuts himself a bit, and puts the blood on the necklace. Suddenly, a ray of red light emanates from it, and the blood takes shape, pointing somewhere. Carmen is glad that his mother is still alive, and Marnak congratulates him for it. Carmen thanks him profusely, saying that he will surely repay this debt. He also says that he has one last favor to ask. He would like it if they worked together from now on, just until he meets his mother. And since he's heading west anyways, they can visit the capital, so that he may reward him for the job. Marnak smiles, thinking that he would like to accept, but he would definitely see through his intentions right away. He thinks and thinks, causing Carmen to grow worried at the lack of an answer. Marnak smirks and takes his hand, saying that he will gladly support him on the journey to find his mother. The next day, Aaron is a bit furious that he is leaving. She also gives him a silver mercenary plate, noting that it came out faster than expected. Marnak thanks her, but she doesn't want to hear that. Instead, he should say, "See you soon," as that would be like a promise. Marnak apologizes to her in his head, saying that he lives the life of a wanderer, so he would never be able to fulfill this promise. She sighs, noting that if he continues to live like this, he won't get a girlfriend and will die alone. So she says, "See you soon" instead, also saying that the opportunity to meet again will come a lot faster than he expects. Marnak asks what she means, but she shuts him up, saying that this is punishment for leaving. Marnak goes to talk with the Lord, who is as bald as an egg now, but he sees it as more of a truer form of humanity. The Lord also says that since he is heading for the capital, he will give him a recommendation letter. He notes that he would have liked to pay him, but he is dead broke since he had to pay for all of the repairs here in Geese. But the letter will prove useful, as if he gives it to a friend of his, that person will help. He also notes that he should ask for help if it's absolutely necessary, as that person is pretty hard to deal with. Marnak thanks him for the gift, and the Lord says that he should think of it as a form of gratitude. He also wishes him a good life, and it is too short to not enjoy. After a few days, Carmen and Marnak are still on the trail, and they note that they will reach the next town in about half a day. Marnak thinks about him. Mother only allowed him to travel with Carmen because he is a 3.5 rated human. If he manages to harvest him, he would give 10,000 divinity, meaning he will be able to obtain another authority. The fingers also have the potential to reach 4, but personally, he just likes his personality and would prefer him alive. Suddenly, he pulls out his sword and says that there's blood, very close, and it's rapidly approaching. Suddenly, a giant snow spider comes out of the ground, ready to feast. Carmen tries to retaliate with some arrows, but just as the spider is about to attack, Marnak jumps in, cutting some of its legs. He notes that he will have to look for a place to clean this sword the next time he uses it. He strikes the spider once again, noting that it splatters too much blood and flesh. In Geese, the priestess visits the Lord, who apologizes for the current state of the mansion. She gives him a drawing, asking if he has seen this man. The drawing is crudely made to resemble Marnak, and the Lord asks why she wants to see him. She notes that it's for personal reasons. He says that he hasn't, and notes that she should leave, as he's quite busy as it is. He thinks that she must not be looking for him with any good intentions. Carmen and Marnak begin dissecting the spiders they have defeated under Carmen's command, as he wants the venom sacs from all of them. He notes that they are pretty good in different situations. They can also be used as poison, and fetch a high price in the market. Marnak asks how he knows all this, and Carmen says that he participated in a lot of monster hunts, so he had plenty of practice. Marnak says that he will take care of them then, as he is covered in blood already. Carmen notes that they still have some road between them and Kelton, so he will teach him, and they can do it together. Later that day, they both arrive at the gates of the town, much to the surprise of a guard, who asks how they got here. They wonder what he means, and the guard says that the town has been blocked off for the last 3 days, because of the monsters. They ask for the details, and the guard says that monster attacks have become more common, with no corpses to be found. Carmen finds this odd, as what they were attacked by are snow spiders, and it would be extremely difficult for those creatures to leave absolutely nothing behind. Another guard comes by and says that the Lord wants to see them. They do so, and the Lord welcomes them with open arms, knowing Marnak's reputation as a demon slayer. They begin talking about the monster situation, and the Lord notes that this is being organized by a worshipper of an evil spirit. Marnak notes that a single one wouldn't be able to close the gates of an entire city, and the Lord notes that other priests have deduced that there are at least 4 sects that are working on this. He also says that Kelton is a pretty ordinary town, with nothing notable going on, so why are they a target? They have plenty of supplies, and the troops' morale is pretty good, But the problem is that other cities don't know the situation. That's why they need someone to go and spread the news to other cities, mostly a suicide mission at this point. Marnak says that he will help as much as possible. Later he goes to his room, where he gets berated by Mother for accepting the job. Marnak notes that they also received an item that he can clean the sword with, and it's quite rare to be found here, as it's from the desert regions. He thinks that the real reason he accepted is because he thought this might be a warning that the main quest would be starting soon. The reason he came to that conclusion is because 4 different sects are working together. He notes that the title of Evil Spirit, the beings that these sects worship, seems intimidating, but it doesn't really hold any meaning. It's just a title the main gods throw on other gods, resulting in a stigma being formed. However, one thing's for sure. Among the worshippers of the evil spirits, almost none are mentally sane. So unlike the sects under the main gods, sects that serve evil spirits rarely work with each other. So 4 of them working together is out of the ordinary for sure. Later, they ride out to another town, but get attacked by spiders and a myriad of other creatures. Marnak smirks and tells Carmen that he will grab their attention. He is puzzled at his choice, saying that it's too dangerous, even for him. Marnak notes that they will be caught if this keeps up. He throws himself off the horse, noting that he will wait for reinforcement. Carmen screams for him, but he just smiles, asking if he looked cool while saying that. He crashes into the snow, and Mother notes his interesting acting. He smiles, saying that he will take that as a compliment. He also says that they should begin looking for those worshippers, as they can't hide forever. Marnak charges in and slashes the beasts left and right, leaving behind their corpses in a pool of blood. He notes that if getting dirty is so frequent, he just might have to carry a bathtub with him. Mother agrees. Marnak walks towards a cave opening and notes that they probably already know he's coming, but aren't greeting him. Quite rude. Inside, he finds the things that were missing from the attacked carriages, noting that the monsters must have carried them here. He also finds a body that has been sucked dry by a snow spider. Marnak notes that he understands when one enjoys a nice meal, but to use the leftovers as decor is quite a strange design choice. Mother urges him not to let his guard down, but he assures her that he won't, but also wonders just how many people they manage to eat. There are too many bodies for them to eat within 3 days, so are they perhaps raising offspring? He continues walking until he finds a giant cave, noting that the tunnels were also pretty big. Marnak smiles, noting that there's also a lot of divinity here. The gigantic spider comes out and looms over him, while its children descend from the walls. The gigantic spider jumps into action, and Marnak asks Mother to draw a line of corruption for him. She does so, and also summons the beast of corruption, noting that this human-eating monster will be sacrificed for her. The beast jumps into action, and lands a good blow on the spider. Marnak also activates the text of corruption, but the spider is not finished yet. As it counterattacks and pushes the beast into the wall, they continue to fight, and Marnak notes that it's almost double the size of the beast, so he needs to help out somehow. He slashes through the other spiders, and thinks that he can sense the energy coming from within the Spider Queen's body, so he has to make sure he doesn't damage it. Suddenly, a spider attacks from behind, and he slashes it in half. This gives him an idea. To not waste the divinity in the Queen's body, he just has to cut all of its legs off. He orders the corruption beast to run straight ahead, as he will help it, but it must make sure to stop the Queen from moving. The beast does so and grabs what he can, and Marnak runs on the wall and swings down, noting that the Queen is just a spider, so all he needs to do is sever the thinnest part of its body. He hits that part again and again, and the Queen screeches in pain. He gets to the last part, and with one powerful blow slashes the Queen in half. The beast then grabs the upper half of its body and slams it into the ground, and Marnak lands. The beast also looks angrily at him, so he apologizes for leaving it behind previously, and this seems to appease the beast this time. A woman comes out of the Queen's mouth, cursing like a sailor while she does so. Marnak smiles gently and notes that he knew there was a person inside. The woman demands to know who he is in order to ruin her plans like this. Isn't he another follower of an evil spirit like her? Does he even know how long it took for her to gain control of this thing? Marnak asks her what the purpose of surrounding Kelton is, but she doesn't want to answer, so he just impales her with his sword. His face is not so nice now, and he demands to know why she is surrounding Kelton. She screams that it hurts, but he doesn't care, and asks again. She depravedly smiles and says that she won't tell him even if she dies. Marnak smiles and respects her wishes, cutting her head clean off. He gains 1,000 divinity and wonders how many worshippers will tell them the truth behind everything. The mother thinks that there are at least more than 3, so he chooses to believe that there are 4. Marnak walks back to Kelton, but finds it up in flames. Inside, the Lord seems to have died a horrible death, while a woman there notes that they wasted precious time getting to this pig. A man asks if they could use incarnation, but a woman with an eye patch notes that it's unstable, and it's not easy to extract divinity from living beings. On top of that, they also manage to lose a few rats because of somebody here. The woman gets mad and notes that she did her utmost. But the monks in the teaching sect kept bothering her. If only Layla sent them a couple of spiders. She also notes that they should have caught the guy who made it out. The eye patch woman also notes that Layla isn't even here yet, and this is not the first time she has done so. But even if she were to assist them with a few spiders, she would have just played around with the bodies. The man urges them to stop fighting, as nothing good will come of it. And since that man managed to escape, troops will be deployed to hunt them down shortly. They also spent many years on this plan, so it must work. The woman notes that she also invested years into this, but she just can't take criticism from him. Do they think she just let him go because she wanted to? Why are they screaming at her for losing one measly rat? And what's with this one? Has he forgotten to mess around with her last night or something? The eye patch woman, having had enough of this, leaves, and the man demands that the woman who was screaming all this time, Parna, stop. He will make sure that Layla takes responsibility for losing the rats. She smiles and notes that it's plenty for her. But that's when the eye patch woman's head flies clean off as Marnak slashes it. He moves on to the man and cuts him in half. He notes that it's pretty unfair for their bet to kill 2 without asking questions. But these people are able to manipulate authority, so it's better safe than sorry, right? Parna wonders why this maniac is talking to himself, and he looks at her while he slowly regenerates from the text of corruption. Marnak smiles and asks her an all too similar question. What's the purpose of surrounding Kelton? They go outside where Parna presents him with a mass of growing flesh. He notes that she explained everything as soon as he asked, and the story is quite simple. They used all the people in the city as a sacrifice to create this ball of divinity called Incarnation. In order to do all of this, they hid within the city for the last 3 years, and even though it needed at least 5 more days of preparation, they had no choice but to rush the plans due to Carmen's successful escape. Marnak revs up his chainsword, much to Parna's dismay, who asks him what he plans to do. He says that he wants to kill that monster, which consumed the flesh and blood of others before it wakes. Parna urges him not to do it, but he does so anyway. She screams that if it's in danger, that being will wake up in an unstable state. The thing slowly rises from the mass of flesh, screaming that it hurts, until it makes its way out and immediately strikes Marnak. The mother notes that there is a holy relic inside that thing, but he knows, and while removing the thing's tentacle from himself, he says that they will make a new authority and sacrifice that slab of meat to her. Parna says that what he will do won't work, but she doesn't get to finish talking, as Marnak cuts her head off, gaining 1,000 divinity. With that, he now has a total of 8,592 divinity, with the divinity he extracted from the Lord included. All he needs to get a new authority is 10,000 divinity. He notes that even if he tries to cut this thing down, it will just regenerate itself. But if he continues to get injured like this, he will eventually lose. It seems that there is no other choice. He grabs his sword tightly and dips, confusing both the thing and mother. The thing, seeing this, screams the only words it knows: it hurts. Marnak makes his way through the town and gains 1 divinity from each corpse he runs over. The thing chases after him somehow, and he notes that this is like a game. Either the thing will catch him, or he will manage to get a new authority. The thing begins screaming, and it stops Marnak from running away. He notes that even its voice is divine, truly a walking disaster. It tries to attack, but he manages to dodge and asks Mother for assistance. The corruption beast gets summoned over the thing and punts it into the ground, causing all the houses nearby to shake. Marnak looks at the fight and notes that 1 corruption beast will not be enough, but it just needs to hold on for a little longer, as he will be back soon. He runs towards a burning building, thinking that he needs the bodies of well-trained soldiers or knights at least. He goes inside, but too much time has passed, so Mother cannot extract the divinity from the bodies. He notes that up until now, he has accumulated 9,237 divinity, and he just needs a bit more. Suddenly, a wall bursts open, and out of the hole comes a myriad of tentacles that Marnak barely managed to deflect. The thing tries to pounce on him, now having learned a new word: pain. It seems that it has grown quite a lot from fighting with the corruption beast. Silence falls for a few seconds, and only the wind can be heard. The thing puts its hand forward, and out of it come a lot of tentacles. But Marnak manages to cut them, and this gives him the opportunity to attack. But the thing is too fast and catches him while he's mid-air. With that, it uses the momentum to throw Marnak outside with great force. The mother asks if he's okay, and he confirms this, but also notes how lucky he is, because the thing just dropped him in the place where the main battle took place. The thing screams, and Marnak urges the mother to take all of the corpses. She does so, and the divinity grows and grows, until it reaches the number of 10,001. He speaks. As her son, he will offer her 10,000 divinity, so she should grant him a new authority. She does so, and everything around is swallowed by a sea of black, including Marnak. He speaks with the thing, and says that it will be in much more pain from now on. The thing goes on the attack, and Marnak explains that this new authority is called the Hole of Corruption. It decomposes all living beings that step inside, including himself. But he is able to use text of corruption to choose which parts decompose first. The thing's arm falls off, and Marnak says that he really wants to see which is faster. His regeneration of this hole's decomposition. With that, they engage in a final battle, with Marnak coming out on top. He cuts off the head of the thing, and offers the holy relic to Mother. And so, she lifts the seal. Marnak finds himself outside, but Mother is nowhere to be found, until he looks behind, and notices that she has grown a body. She slowly comes up to him and asks why she's in a child's body. Marnak gently caresses her head, but notes that she should be the one to know that, not him. He also asks if she can't get the divinity out of that thing's body, as it would be a shame if it just went to waste. The mother tries her best, but it seems that she can't. Marnak smiles and says that it's fine if it doesn't work, so she should just come back. She hugs him tightly, and he notes that due to all the divinities mixed up in that thing, it's impossible for her now. But now that they have lifted her seal with the holy relic, he uses the 10,000 divinity from it to get another authority. The sky lights up in a greenish hue, and a green beam descends upon the both of them. Marnak asks what the meaning of this authority is, but the mother smiles and says that he should use it as much as he needs. This time, he received the curse of corruption, an authority that can only be described as evil. With this curse, all living things within range, which is the size of a small city, will slowly rot away. It will be fine if he finds a city filled with villains, but killing innocents for divinity isn't for him. But besides that, why was the holy relic with the mother's sealed divinity inside an incarnation? Was it really a coincidence? Or perhaps Mother's divinity was one of the main forces in creating that thing? He suddenly waddles and falls down, noting that he received too many divinity-enhanced attacks. The mother comes up to him and begins crying. With that, he slowly drifts away, until he wakes up with Carmen taking care of him. His face grows dim, however, as Mother is not next to him. He asks where his things is, and Carmen tries to calm him down, but he demands them right now. That's when Carmen hands him Mother's hand, and it calms it down. He thought it might have some meaning for him, so when the others wanted to throw it in the trash, he took it. Marnak thanks him profusely, but Carmen notes that it's nothing compared to what he did. As if it weren't for his valiant sacrifice, he wouldn't have made it out of Kelton in one piece. Marnak asks where they are, and Carmen notes that they are still in Kelton. This causes Marnak to ask how long he slept for, and Carmen says that he did for 10 days. Marnak asks if there were any survivors, and silence falls for a bit, until Carmen breaks it by saying that the only person who was left breathing in Kelton is him. Close to Kelton, a man tries to run from something but gets a knife to the leg. The other men shiver while the priestess walks towards the injured man. He desperately begs for his life, but she notes that he can't walk anymore due to his injury. The man says that he can, and his pleading continues, but it falls on deaf ears as the priestess decapitates and burns him whole. She looks behind and orders the other men to walk, so they do. That day, they arrive at Kelton's gates. The men, who who were apparently a group of well-known criminals called the Snow Bear Bandits, fall to their knees and demand to be taken to jail. The priestess notes that they want this, and the guard agrees to take them. But the Lord of Kelton is dead, at the hands of some evil spirit worshippers, so it will take about a day for her to receive the rewards. She asks what happened to those worshippers, and the guard says that, including the monsters, Priest Marnak killed all of them. He was asleep for 10 days due to the battle, but just woke up. The priestess asks if this Marnak, the supposed arch-enemy of evil spirit worshippers, is staying in Kelton right now. The spirits seem high inside of a local tavern, and the priestess asks if the supposed enemy of the evil worshippers, Priest Marnak, is here right now. The patrons, after hearing that name, start celebrating even louder, and especially him, as he was the one who saved this town. Their celebration is heard even from the outside of the town, where Carmen and Marnak bolt as fast as they can. He remembers what Filion told him about that priestess, that she's looking for him basically everywhere she can, and seems to have absolutely no intention of giving up. He grits his teeth, as the only thing he can do now is run, and Mother urges him to be careful. He notes that he's very aware of the dangers. That's precisely why he left Kelton. It would have been plainly insane for him to stay there with that woman. He should have known already that this woman is the most dangerous among the humans he knows, as she was rate 4.5 fingers. He thanks Carmen for agreeing to leave with such short notice, and in the night. Carmen says that he needn't worry, as he would much rather leave whenever they have the chance than garner even more attention from the city. Marnak smiles widely and thinks that he really likes this person and his personality. 2 weeks later, while they are still traversing the plains, Carmen spots a carriage holding the crest of the Iramel family. Marnak asks if he's talking about the Iramel, who's the High Lord of the South, and Carmen confirms it and notes that the white camellia flower is his family's crest. Marnak wonders if they should greet them, as to not seem impolite, but Carmen thinks otherwise, as they don't have the Lord's flag hung up, so there must be a child or relative in that certain carriage. It might be better to just bypass them quietly. They do so, but when Marnak approaches the rear end of the carriage, he notices that something is amiss. He grabs Carmen's attention and tells him that there is somebody tied up inside of the carriage. The supposed carriage guards draw their weapons, as they have heard what they are whispering about, and one even says that if they would have played dumb, they would have continued their journey unscathed. However now, they have relinquished their right to live. They charge in, and a large shockwave appears. Marnak cut the head of one clean, and Carmen killed another with a perfect headshot. This paralyzes the other kidnappers, and Marnak asks how dare they swing their sword in such a crooked way. He tells Carmen that there are only 8 kidnappers left. Their commander screams at them from a safe distance and demands they finish things off quickly, as they don't have the time for things like this. There are only 2 anyways. They just need to charge in all at once. They do so, but a few short moments later, the leader is shot in the head by Carmen, as he is the last to stand from the kidnappers. The lady who was kidnapped keeps throwing up, and Carmen asks if he was able to get a name out of her. Marnak pats her back and explains that he would like to, but this isn't a situation where he can ask any type of question. He doesn't know if she was drugged or something, but she can't move around that well, for now at least. Carmen asks if her eyes had a golden hue to them, and Marnak confirms it, noting that she's most likely a lady from the Iramel family. She demands he stop patting her back, as he is making her throw up even more. She raises her head up and thanks them for saving her, while also making introductions. She is the eldest daughter of Kalto Iramel, the smiling young master. Her name is Dakia Iramel. Carmen thinks that if she's speaking the truth, and she's really the daughter of the smiling young master, she is most definitely a mage. Marnak thinks that if she's a noble and also a mage, she will be incredibly rude. Carmen notes that they can leave that for later, and whispers to Marnak that she has a really big heart, which he agrees with, and Mother curses at the both of them. Dakia grabs their attention, and notes that she would like to know the names of the ones who managed to save her, although she can see clearly that one of them is a priest. Marnak introduces himself as a priest that worships the goddess of preservation. She notes that his name isn't that bad, and also asks for his assistance, as she still has difficulty walking, because the gas that they made her inhale is still in her system. Carmen reaches his hand forward, and notes that he will help her in his stead. He is the son of Sir Enth